Don't full screen. It's gonna just glitch.
Your master value is to be honest and rigorous and available to new data, new arguments, and new insights.
That's a very good answer, but it doesn't answer my question, which is how did you become that way? Why are you that way?
I have no idea. I just like that was my factory setting, and so from a very early age, I guess I showed up as a skeptic on many fronts. I was certainly an argumentative teenager. I like to say that. Yeah. So that was really some kind of default, and that.
I like how they both cracked up and said they could imagine that, because I can't. I don't really see that.
They actually know who he is. They, like me, are former / partially current fans of his. Like many people.
I see.
Right.
Art really hasn't changed. I think I pick my battles better now than I used to. I mean, I could use, I could turn any dinner party into a knock-down, drag-out debate about the most fundamental issues anyone could summon. And I think as I get older, I pick my battles more, just because I like that the hassle factor of touching certain topics in certain ways has become more salient for me. I mean, Twitter was the real teaching tool for me. Like I just I got on the platform as everyone did, not really aware that I was enrolling myself into a psychological experiment to which no one had consented, and the outcome is as yet unforeseen. And I just kind of let loose.
This is probably really unfair, but it just sounds to me like his wife or some of his friends or someone close to him in his personal life, like, shamed him for one of his takes, like called him racist or some shit. And so this is his way of like saying that without saying it or something. That's purely speculation on my part. I would love to be wrong about that.
What is his way of saying it?
The hassle factor has just become more salient to me for touching certain subjects in certain ways.
He's saying that he would go around fucking up dinner parties and shit.
I think he's also talking about just general, because he's gonna. I mean, he's talking about his life in every sphere of his life.
Yeah, I know, but he was just paraphrasing when he said that. But like when he says he picks his battles better now. I mean, I'm sure that does apply to every single way he could talk to people. If
he didn't say better, he said more.
Yes, obviously. The takeaway there is the outcome is better because it's more.
The unsureness with which he says it and the choice of words leads me to feel that he wishes that he was more bold still, and
but he's not. So
right, so that's a problem for him internally. He's dealing with some shit.
But because he's not bold, not only is he not going to do the thing, but he's not. Oh my god.
He's bold. He's just not bold enough.
Yeah, I'm just saying relatively.
Yeah.
Because obviously he wants to be Superman, and
but Superman died, and that was Christopher Hitchens. And Christopher Hitchens was a shitty Superman too, but he was much closer to it than Sam Harris.
Various topics, and I would, when I would see some malefactor there who was treating me or other people badly, well, then I had to deal with that right then and there. And yeah, it's just the hassle factor of dealing with the toxicity of it, and also just I'm convinced now that at bottom it's a misrepresentation of humanity, right? It doesn't seem like, I mean, you're actually dealing with what someone wrote there. I mean, it's not in error, but you're not getting the whole person. You're getting a part of them that has been amplified by the frame into which the conversation has been put, and the frame has certain features that are not helpful to good conversation. It's got anonymity, it's got facelessness, it's got the performative aspect. You're doing it in front of your crowd or some possible crowd, so it's disastrous for intellectual honesty and compassion and theory of mind, actually understand, taking the extra moment to understand where the other person is coming from. And so there's no principle of charity. So it's really a disastrous machine for manufacturing discord.
We had a guest on the show called Richard Grand who made the point that what it does is reduces everyone to an avatar.
Mm.
So if everyone's an avatar, what does it matter if you attack them, if you
Right.
dehumanize them, if you misrepresent them? Because the game is to win, right? It's not to actually have a discussion, it's to destroy and ultimately to win.
Yeah, well, especially if you're a public person dealing with people who are not public people, right? Because then it's just a single shot, lottery. It's not there's no ongoing future of collaboration or cooperation that is being maintained. I mean, it's even bad when you have two public people who both know they're going to meet each other in real life at some point. Still, the wheels come off rather often, to a surprising degree. But
I'm shocked that neither one of them is going to mention that. That's not everything that happens on Twitter.
I know, right? Who, what? Yeah, but it's because that's their style. Like, they want people to say what they're gonna say, and they don't want them.
When are they going to respond to it, though? Do they ever?
They respond in a very limited way because what they want is for the person to express who they are.
No, yes, but afterward or something, when the person is gone or something, are they ever going to respond?
That's the Raw show, Deidra. We need to watch the Raw shows that they did 2 fucking Raw shows up on this topic. After this, like in the days following this interview.
Okay.
yeah, it's just in the end, I think it's bad technology, which is it's still somewhat inscrutable because it seems like it should be good. I mean, and in some ways, it is good because you're seeing a lot of smart people tell you what most interests them and most worries them on a daily basis, and sending you articles and videos and that's why that's why I can't break my connection to it, because I'm following so many smart people who are curating an information diet that I still appreciate. And then I, occasionally put my own stuff out there just so it's like a kind of a marketing channel. But I'm doing much less in the weeds back and forth with even public people.
Twitter is just a marketing channel. No, it's the same here.
Poke me on
that's how much he hates
issue or whatever.
arguing with randos
Sam,
like me.
Does it not go? Do you not have a little thought in your head where?
No, but he also understands that it's a nice little information feed too.
Yeah. From the biased ass people that he trusts.
When you go to tackle these very contentious subjects, and you know that you're going to get pushback, you know that you're going to get flat, you know that you're going to get misrepresented. Do you not think I really shouldn't be doing this?
By the way, open invitation to Sam Harris to explain to me how I've ever misrepresented anything he's ever said, because I never have.
What, he says you misrepresented him?
No, but just in case he ever would, because that's his favorite fucking thing to say. And to be fair to him, many, many, many times it's accurate that people are misrepresenting what he said.
Haven't you even talked to him on Twitter before? Or something?
I don't think so. If I did, it was so brief and insignificant that I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Or what goes through your mind before you go out and you make your point?
Well, again, I think about it more than I used to now. I mean, I used to do it very. There was no friction in the system. I mean, I just was like, okay, this is like that cartoon meme. Somebody on the internet is wrong about something. And I was that guy on Twitter, and so I'm not that guy anymore. And I really do pick my moments, and there's a cost to that because there's that you decide sit certain moment cultural moments you sit on the sidelines, and but I mean, if I could distill it to a lesson here, it's like you don't always need to have an opinion about everything, right? You certainly don't always need to have a strong opinion about everything. Even if you do have a strong opinion, you don't always have to be the person expressing that opinion, because very likely someone else will, right? And given those adjustments to the machine, you can just.
I agree. You don't have to always have an opinion about everything. Like, I don't have an opinion on what the top ice or the rank 30th ice skaters next outfit should look like when they perform. I don't have an opinion on that. I mean, I could if they wanted to, but generally speaking, I don't. So, and things of that level. But
when you get much higher than that,
anytime anything's important, either just from my perspective or objectively, then you should have an opinion on it, whether it's strong or not. Then
even things that matter as you and me are important enough that people should have an opinion on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, someone's gonna have an opinion on everything, so
right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can be too opinionated.
Of course. But there's no such thing as having too many opinions.
No, but you just shouldn't be too forceful with your opinions.
Of course, but that's my only criticism of Sam Harris, is that his opinions are too extreme.
I don't know if that's a different criticism, but yeah.
His opinions are so extreme, they're illogical because of their extremeness. That's like my only beef with him.
Mm-hmm. He uses too many absolutes, that's for sure.
Uh-huh. And he doesn't give a fuck that he does. He like can't see it or something. He gets off on doing it.
Just aside, do I really want to spend the next 24 hours dealing with the aftermath of this thing that I'm tempted to tweet, right, or to say in some other format? And in particular, it relates to the likelihood that certain personalities are going to go berserk, and then with certain people, it's guaranteed that they're going to go berserk. So, like, here's this odious opinion expressed by a semi-odious person who really deserves to hear what I think right now. Is it worth whacking that hornet's nest and then just dealing with and being seen to deal with, or to not deal with, and to maybe look like you can't deal with the aftermath?
Yeah,
right. It's like
Sam, you talked about tribalism at the beginning, and that's something that Francis and I both feel very strongly is contributing to much of the divisiveness and the way things are going. And look, let's be clear, the show is called Triggernometry. We want to explore difficult subjects. There's no question that neither him or I are woke in the consent. Opposing that ideology has been a big part of what we do. But the tribalism is a different thing. We don't want to be in the anti-woke tribe or the woke tribe, right? Yeah. And there was a tribe around 2015, 2016. It's a very small tribe of very smart people, which was referred to as the intellectual dark web. Which I remember at that time, we weren't doing this, we're just two comedians. I remember watching you guys have those conversations and being inspired by people. I don't think you guys had the answers, but you had the right questions. You did have the right questions. And then over time, we watched that loose tribe of very bright people, as loose tribes of very bright people always do, crumble, disintegrate, fall out.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, but the first thing that happened is that it was actually, for some of us more than others, a tongue-in-cheek label for a tribe that really wasn't. I mean, none of us are tribal people. You know, it really is a herding cats sort of situation. And when I launched, so, you know, it was Eric Weinstein coinage, which I launched on a podcast we did. And I think in that context, I telegraphed that I thought it was tongue-in-cheek.
I don't agree that none of those people are tribal. I think several of those people are significantly more tribal than Sam.
Who are the people in the dark web?
Various conservative and centrist thinkers, some liberals even. But anyway, my point is, Sam is far too against tribalism. There's nothing inherently wrong with tribalism. I mean, even just loving the fact of being human is deeply tribalistic.
Don't you know you can't conform to an identity, Christopher?
Oh, good Lord. It's just,
I think
it's like when you take LSD and you're like, oh yeah, oh, I've needed this my whole life, but not nearly this much of this. It's like way too much. He's way too much of the things that he's saying to the point where it's wrong. He's making good points until he takes it way too far, and then it's ridiculous bullshit.
And I think in that context, I telegraphed that I thought it was tongue-in-cheek. I mean, I think he probably thought it was more in earnest than I did, or he was at least more attached to the label.
Who's he?
Eric Weinstein. He's a guy that's a lot more tribal than Sam. I want to say he's a center-right guy. He's this super emotional guy. He has like this big mole on his face that he refuses to get plastic surgery because like that's what he believes in or some shit. He's not like my favorite guy ever, but I do like him. I think he's a good person. I would definitely have a beer with him or whatever, but he does come across a little bit emotional. And that's me saying that, so. Michael Brooks wrote a book condemning the intellectual dark web before he died.
Who?
Michael Brooks, the one that died recently when he was young. He wrote a book condemning the intellectual dark web before he died. It's called Against the Web by Michael Brooks.
This guy?
That guy, yeah.
That's funny. So, we need to buy this book and then you do a book review.
Right? Couldn't agree more.
And I also need to find out more about, it will push me to find out more about the dark web inherently.
Yeah, it'll be a great jumping off point for you.
Because as soon as he says something about somebody, I'll have to Google what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's perfect. See, this is why it's a terrible tragedy that he died, and this is also why I am, ironically, an OG Michael Brooks fan, because I hated almost everything he fucking said, and generally the way he was and stuff. But I loved that he was willing to put his fucking ugly ass opinions on the internet. He had real balls.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I have to find the value in the whetstones, you see.
Just me.
And then very quickly, there were people who sort of joined this collection, or who were said to be in it, some of whom I had never heard of at that point, who, upon just a little bit of analysis, revealed themselves to be people who I really don't agree with, not just on the actual substance of specific opinions, just their methodology by which they would generate opinions, or their lack of to be in it, some of whom I had never heard of at that point, who, upon just a little bit of analysis, revealed themselves to be people I really don't agree with, not just on the actual substance of specific opinions, just their methodology by which they would generate opinions, or their lack of methodology. So, I'm not inclined.
I would love to have been able to get Michael Brooks's take on this Triggernometry interview.
And I would love for someone to have asked who the fuck he's specifically talking about right now.
Oh, yeah, right. The fucking cowards. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Inclined to name names, but there are people who, it's just wrong.
Oh, I don't want to name names.
Oh, I don't want to name
which
names.
Makes everything saying completely irrelevant.
To be fair-ish, he's named names a little bit in other places in the past. He just doesn't want to do it
He doesn't want to rehash.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, as long as he's done it, and as long as we can, at least, as long as people can speculate,
we can figure out. He doesn't like Brett Weinstein and
Brett Weinstein,
Eric's brother.
Okay, that's a future project. Figuring out Sam's beef with IDW or whatever.
Yeah. Why Sam left the IDW.
And why he hates the people. I guess that would be the same thing.
Yeah. But since he basically spawned it, he basically destroyed it by leaving. So.
No, but Eric Weinstein's the one who is known for coining the phrase according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, but he did it in an interview with Sam Harris, so it was by the power of Sam Harris that it existed in the first place. So he essentially destroyed it by leaving.
I see.
Wrong to think, they were ever moving in the same lane I was in at that point when we were all called IDW people, right? But I think the biggest force of fragmentation was Trump and what certain people did or didn't do with that phenomenon,
And this is what I was going to ask you. I'd say there were two things that fractured it from that looking.
I mean, COVID later, but Trump was the.
So let's start with Trump, because I want to talk about COVID as well. But if we start with Trump, you took a different view to almost everybody, I would say, in what was described as the IDW, in the sense that you were, I think you were calling for Twitter to shut down Trump's account and were happy that it happened.
Yeah.
That's a very different position to pretty much everybody else. Why did you take that position?
Well, for two reasons. One, so the generic reason is, and this is something I've never gotten a clear answer on from any of the people who took the different side of this. And many of these people are ostensibly libertarians, or at least quasi-libertarians. So they want something like a minimum of state coercion and control. They don't want just a proliferation of laws just to make our lives more difficult. And that's an orientation, though I'm.
What is he saying?
Rewind as many times as it takes.
And this is something.
I think you were calling for Twitter.
Trump was the.
So let's start with Trump, because I want to talk about COVID as well. But if we start with Trump, you took a different view to almost everybody, I would say, in what was described as the IDW, in the sense that you were, I think you were calling for Twitter to shut down Trump's account and were happy that it happened.
Yeah.
That's a very different position to pretty much everybody else. Why did you take that position?
Well, for two reasons. One, so the generic reason is, and this is something I've never gotten a clear answer on from any of the people who took the different side of this. And many of these people are ostensibly libertarians, or at least quasi-libertarians, and they want something like a minimum of state coercion and control. They don't want just a proliferation of laws.
Rapid increase in numbers. They don't want the number of laws or a large number of laws.
They want small government, not big government. They want right-wing policies, not communism. He's referring.
But why does he say they want coercion?
He said they want a minimum of coercion.
Coercion and control.
His critics.
They don't like a minimum of state coercion and control.
Oh, coercion, not as in the bad way, but like interference. Like just changing things.
Well, yeah. So like having a military and having laws, those are forms of coercion. But they're also the minimum level of coercion in order to have a nation state. That's what he's referring to.
They don't want just a proliferation of laws just to make our lives more difficult. And that's an orientation, though I consider myself liberal and have always voted as a Democrat. I mean, until we dealt with this woke apocalypse, I would have certainly called myself a Democrat without much self-consciousness. I've always had this libertarian kind of underpinning to my politics, which is, if the private sector can handle it, it's probably best done there, right? I mean, just given the level of inefficiency and poorly aligned incentives you get in a government bureaucracy, and peaceful, honest people should have the right to be left alone. So it's like unless somebody is harming people or guilty of fraud, i.e. theft, stealing from people, we don't need the government involved. And so that's my general framework. And many people ostensibly in this group ostensibly agreed with that. So when I look at Twitter, Twitter is a company that can decide to, as someone who has started, information-based companies at this point, I'm just thinking about what's the scenario under which I would want the government to force me to have Alex Jones on my podcast or to have Donald Trump on.
First of all, it's tragic because they don't call him out for this to his face. Maybe they couldn't really articulate it this well, even, I'm not sure, but he's not, that is not an answer to the question. That's not a real answer to the question that Konstantin asked him.
Yeah, we don't disagree that they should be allowed to kick off Donald Trump if they want to.
That is not being debated in this interview, and it's not even relevant to the question.
So he's strawmanning.
He's totally strawmanning the fuck out of us at Konstantin, fucking whoever the fuck the other guy is.
The question is, what are your reasons for believing he should be thrown off?
That is the fucking
that's what everyone has been trying to ask Twitter, and they haven't been clear about.
It's literally what he actually asked you in the question that he asked you. He said,
why do you believe in this stance?
Yes, that's literally what the question was.
Yeah, not why do you believe this stance should be allowed to be a thing.
Right, not defend why your stance should be legally permitted.
Yeah.
That was not the question,
Sam.
We already agree about that. And I can't believe you would derail into that.